Lily Thompson, 23, worked part-time as a server at a modest roadside cafe along a Texas highway. Each morning, she showed up early to set the tables, pour complimentary coffee for truckers, and would often wipe down the license plates of classic cars parked out front, a quirky habit she enjoyed. Her hands were always faintly stained with grease no matter how hard she scrubbed. The other servers joked about it, calling her Grease Monkey Lily behind her back. The regulars thought she was sweet, albeit a bit clumsy, and many smiled seeing her admire the vintage cars that occasionally rolled in. Some even moved their vehicles just to dodge her attention. "My dad taught me engines before he taught me to read," she'd explain when someone asked about her strange fascination. One rainy afternoon, Lily noticed a 1969 Mustang stalled in the far corner of the lot. An older man sat inside, staring at a paper map, clearly confused as the rain beat against his windshield. Unlike most folks today, he wasn't checking a smartphone for directions. Without hesitation, she walked over, her uniform already soaked from the rain. "Sir, need a hand?" she called through the partly cracked window. The man glanced up, surprised by her presence. Lily didn't ask much. She simply said, "I used to fix my dad's car. Mind if I have a look?" She crouched to examine the ignition wiring, wiped off the spark plugs with her handkerchief, and used a bobby pin to reconnect a frayed wire. A group of businessmen watching from under the cafe's awning laughed obnoxiously. "Watch out, old man. That girl might blow your car up." The manager rushed out with an umbrella, his expression stern. "What are you doing? We've got customers waiting," he scolded. The older man glanced once at the laughing group, then turned to Lily and said quietly, "Thank you, miss." The engine started with a roar. He gave a brief nod and drove off. No name, no number, not even a tip. Back inside, dripping wet, the manager called Lily to his office. "From now on, don't touch customers' cars. The diner isn't liable for anything you might mess up." "But I fixed it," she replied in a low voice. "That's not the issue. You're a waitress, not a mechanic. Know your place." Lily didn't argue. She just silently took off her grease-stained gloves and tucked them into her locker. She finished her shift serving coffee with a smile, even to the men who had once laughed at her. Have you ever lent a hand, only to be misunderstood, misjudged? Some acts of kindness go unseen until the right eyes recognize them. If you believe stories like this deserve to be kept alive, stick around. The next morning, Lily showed up at the diner to find the lot surrounded. 6 military jeeps sealing off every entrance to the modest place. A unit of soldiers emerged, clad in crisp uniforms that stood apart from the local National Guard. Their bearing revealed a level of discipline far beyond routine service. One officer, silver oak leaves pinned to his shoulders, carried an envelope. He stepped inside the diner and spoke in a firm, clear voice. "Does a Miss Lily Thompson work here?" The manager turned pale. Diners froze mid-bite. The cook peeked through the kitchen's pass-through window. Lily slowly nodded, nervously wiping her hands on her apron, a habit she had never quite kicked. The officer handed her an envelope marked with an unusual seal. Inside was an invitation. "Your attendance is requested at a special ceremony at Fort Miles Military Base tomorrow at 0900 hours. No details followed. The soldiers exited in tight formation, leaving behind stunned customers and a visibly rattled manager. "What did you do?" he asked once the jeeps rolled out. I don't know," Lily murmured, clutching the trembling invitation. One diner had snapped a discreet photo and uploaded it with the caption, "The waitress who fixed a car yesterday. Who is she that soldiers came for her?" The image quickly made the rounds in local forums. A regional news reporter soon rang the diner, asking for the mechanic waitress who drew military attention. Lily panicked. Had she done something wrong? Could that car have been tied to military? Was it stolen? Had she unknowingly messed with classified property? She phoned her mother, who urged caution. "Maybe skip that ceremony, sweetheart. It sounds odd." But later that day, another soldier, older, with kind, tired eyes, came to the diner carrying a small box. Inside was a car key, attached to a dog tag that read, "Mustang 1969, Operation Homebound Edition." He handed her a business card as well. Major William Curtis, Special Veterans Affairs. On the back, handwritten, were the words, "Thank you for seeing what others overlooked." The manager, who had quietly observed the interaction, suddenly seemed less skeptical. "What's this about, Lily?" She studied the key, tracing the etched words with her thumb. "I think that car yesterday wasn't just any car." That night, restless, Lily searched for Operation Homebound and found no official listings. But on a local veterans forum, she spotted it mentioned, a rarely known initiative that returned refurbished vehicles to relatives of fallen service members. It dawned on her, the Mustang was far from ordinary, and the man she'd helped wasn't just some stranger on the road. On the morning of the event, Lily dressed in the finest she had, a plain blue dress and her mother's pearl earrings. She polished her one pair of formal shoes until they gleamed. As instructed, she waited at the diner at exactly 0800. A single black Jeep pulled in. The driver, a young woman in uniform, stepped out and opened the door for her. "Miss Thompson, I'm Lieutenant Rodriguez. I'll be accompanying you to Fort Miles." "Can you tell me what this is about?" Lily asked as they drove. The lieutenant offered a small smile. "Some deeds deserve proper recognition. That's all I can share." They passed through 3 layers of security before arriving at a hangar adorned with American flags. Inside, hundreds of uniformed personnel stood in formal silence as she entered. "What's going on?" Lily whispered, suddenly aware of how insignificant she felt. "You'll find out," Rodriguez replied. "Just remember, sometimes the smallest gestures leave the greatest marks." At Fort Miles, Lily was brought into a large auditorium filled with service members of every rank. On stage sat the same Mustang from the day before, now meticulously cleaned and shining like glass. Behind it hung a giant photo of Lily bent over the engine in the pouring rain, focused and undeterred by the storm. The base commander took the podium, his chest lined with combat medals. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to recognize not just a vehicle, but a legacy." The room fell into respectful silence. This 1969 Mustang once belonged to Lieutenant Colonel John Curtis, who gave his life in service to our nation in 1998. For years, it has been lovingly preserved, restored in every detail to keep his memory alive. The man behind that effort is his brother, Major General William Curtis, the same man Miss Lily Thompson assisted yesterday without knowing who he was. A silver-haired man in full ceremonial dress, the same man with the Mustang, stood from the front row. The commander continued. Miss Thompson didn't just repair a vehicle. She restored a connection to someone long missed. General Curtis walked up to the podium, his posture firm despite his age. "When Miss Thompson reconnected that ignition wire," he said, "she unknowingly reconnected me to the memory of my brother in a way I never thought possible." His voice, while steady, carried emotion rarely seen at his rank. "You see, my brother's wife, her name was also Lily, used to work on this car with him every evening. It was their ritual, their bond. After he was killed, she couldn't keep the car but asked me to safeguard it. Yesterday, I was driving John's Mustang to the annual reunion of his unit when it broke down. I thought I'd miss it for the first time in 25 years. Then this young woman appeared. She never asked who I was, never sought anything in return. She helped because help was needed. Just like our troops do, wherever they're sent. What moved me most wasn't her mechanical talent, though clearly she knows engines well." General Curtis gave a brief smile. "What truly struck me was her willingness to help, expecting nothing, not a name, not gratitude, not recognition. In a time where so much is transactional, Miss Thompson reminded me of the reason we serve, not for thanks, but because it's right." The entire room stood in applause. Lily, stunned and uncertain, was guided to the stage, where she received the Civilian Medal of Honor for service to veterans, a rare award for a civilian. "But I just fixed a car," she whispered as the medal was fastened to her dress. "No," General Curtis murmured, just for her to hear. "You fixed a moment in time I thought was gone for good." After the ceremony, the general led Lily to a memorial wall where his brother's name was carved alongside other fallen heroes. John always said, "You can judge a person's character by what they do and there's nothing to gain," he said, touching his brother's name. "You passed that test, completely." The next day, every local newspaper ran the story. Waitress offers simple help, military base responds with honor. The diner manager, who had watched the entire ceremony, came up to Lily afterward. "I didn't get what you did, I'm sorry." "Have you ever done the right thing without needing to be remembered for it?" she asked. Lily turned down numerous interviews from national outlets, instead going back to her routine, serving coffee and occasionally fixing engines in the parking lot, now with her manager's full support. Every afternoon, at precisely 1500 hours, a military jeep would quietly pull up outside the diner. It never entered, just left a fresh bouquet with a small card. "Kindness keeps the world turning." The diner soon became a favored rest stop for military convoys. Soldiers left generous tips and, now and then, offered her a salute. Lily, as they departed one Tuesday morning, received a carefully crafted wooden box. Inside was a full set of classic auto repair tools that had once belonged to Lieutenant Colonel Curtis's late wife, accompanied by a weathered photo of a young woman in coveralls leaning against the same Mustang. The attached note read, "Keep these healing hands busy, whether fixing wires or offering kindness." From that moment on, Lily began holding free basic car maintenance workshops every Sunday afternoon, sharing her father's lessons with eager teens and aging veterans alike. The sessions took place in the diner's lot, using the very tools that bridged 2 generations of a military legacy. General Curtis occasionally stopped by, spinning stories about his brother while Lily showed others how to check oil or replace spark plugs. Half a year later, Lily was awarded a scholarship to a technical school, quietly sponsored by the Veterans Association. She kept her job at the diner while pursuing her studies in automotive engineering. The diner itself evolved. The owner installed a modest memorial corner featuring the Mustang's photograph and Lily's medal inside a glass case. Beneath it, a plaque simply read, "Sometimes the smallest fixes make the greatest impact." On the anniversary of that stormy day, General Curtis returned with the Mustang, now bearing a personalized plate that read "Lily 2", and handed the keys to the young waitress. "John would have wanted you to have this," he said. "It belongs with someone who knows its soul." Lily tried to decline, but the general insisted. "Some vehicles are just machines. This one is a bridge, between generations, between civilians and service members, between those who serve without being seen." No one asked her name anymore, but everyone remembered her as the girl who once knelt beside a broken-down car and stirred a lifetime of memories. Not every small kindness gets an immediate reward, but sometimes just one moment of care, a hand extended, can revive hope in someone who had forgotten the purpose. Lily didn't help for applause. She helped because it was right, and the person she helped turned out to be someone to whom countless others owed a silent debt. In today's fast-moving world, kindness is too often mistaken for weakness or foolishness. We're told to mind our business, stay in our own lane, and avoid entanglements. But for those who still lead with compassion, these fleeting moments of human connection become the quietest forms of bravery. So the next time you witness someone struggling, whether under a hood or under life's weight, think of Lily. Think about how your simple act might be part of a story far beyond what you can imagine. If you've ever done something good that no one seemed to notice, take heart. Someone did. Someone remembered. And maybe, just maybe, that single gesture changed the direction of their entire life. True heroism doesn't always come in sweeping acts. Sometimes it's just having the courage to kneel in the rain and fix what's broken. "She just ruined that man's car," a customer yelled when the Mustang sputtered in the parking lot. The young waitress nervously wiped oil-streaked hands on her apron, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. The older man said nothing, just gave a nod of thanks and quietly drove away. The following morning, the diner's parking lot was completely filled with 6 military jeeps. Uniformed men moved with purpose toward the entrance. Who had she helped the day before? And why did it seem the entire military had taken notice?